Hello, it's nearly midnight in here in the countryside. I'm in the countryside and I've come here to work on my rocking chair, which you can see that I'm making, which you can see over my shoulder. And I've just started on the wine, and I think before I get too merry, I've been planning to make a video about eczema. Acupuncture for eczema. I have an article on my website, but some people prefer videos, so this is a video. So in Chinese medicine, usually the way we treat various diseases is there are subtypes. So let's say eczema is not the best example, because the treatment of eczema depends on the phase of the outbreak, the acute phase, the subacute phase, which is when it's calming down a bit, and then the chronic phase, which is where it's kind of dried out. But let's say insomnia, for example, you may have, whereas in normal medicine you treat everyone with insomnia the same, you give them the same medicine. In Chinese medicine, you'd give 3 completely different herbal formulas. You'd use somewhat different acupuncture points because of this concept of subtypes of condition. So in eczema we have 3 subtypes. If we accurately determine the subtype and give the appropriate herbal medicine. The name of the video is Acupuncture for Eczema. The name of the article is Acupuncture for Eczema, because acupuncture is more well known in the West, but in China it's not so much used, which may surprise people. And it's not, particularly in dermatology, it's not used much. Although my teacher in the northeast of China, there was some acupuncture, mainly in the hospital, mainly in the inpatient ward in the hospital. So it can be done, but herbal medicine is important. So the phase 1 type of outbreak of eczema in Chinese medicine is called damp damp heat. Damp heat brewing or something. So basically when the body is when the body's condition is not ideal, when there's not enough yang, then fluid, which is yin, tends to accumulate and cause problems, different kinds of problems. All this yin and yang and so on is just a metaphor. It's a way of explaining things that go wrong. So if you don't believe in it, don't get too worried about it, because as I say, it's just a metaphor. So type 1 acute outbreak of eczema. There's damp and there's heat, and often the heat, you see the lesions may be red, that's very simply considered heat. Itchy, that's also considered heat. They may weep fluid may weep out from the eczema lesions, that's damp. So there are some other symptoms, but if I read out the symptoms for all 3 subtypes, you'll get very bored. But you can look at them on the website. So that's type 1, acute outbreak of eczema, damp heat. And the formula is Long Dan Xiegan Tang. It literally means dragon's gallbladder, drain the liver formula. But there's no dragons in it, there's no gallbladders in it. It's because the main herb is called Long Dan Sao, dragon's gallbladder grass. Why gallbladder, why dragon, I'm not sure. So this formula is also used in the first subtype of psoriasis. So there's a very useful formula for psoriasis and the acute outbreak of eczema, when you have an attack that starts and gets bad. And also, sometimes that happens precipitated by stress. And Longdan Xiegantang can also be used for stress, even if there are no skin symptoms. So, second subtype is when the first flare-up has subsided a bit. The technical term is subacute phase. So this is also dampness, but this is, we say, pi shu yun, spleen deficiency, dampness. So in this case, the lesions may be a bit less red. You may feel tired, you may feel bloated, may have diarrhea. Your tongue, if you look in the mirror, might be quite fat. It might have a greasy coating on it. So this has less heat than the acute outbreak. So the formula in the acute outbreak, Longdan Xiegantang, is very cooling to get rid of the heat. In this subacute phase, the formula is Shenling Baijiu-san. Shenling Baijiu-san is warming. So that's Renshen, Ginseng, Fuling, Baijiu. I won't get into them because the video will get too long, but they're all warming, they're not cooling. So in this subacute phase, there's less heat. So that's why it's not so acute, it's not so unpleasant. If you gave that formula in the acute phase, because it's quite warming, you might make things worse. So, third and final subtype is when the outbreak has gone, almost gone, but left some consequences, some dry skin. So this third type is called Shui Shu Feng Zhao, blood deficiency, wind dryness. So sometimes the skin lesions, in this case, they may be dark. There may be severe itching. If there's severe itching in Chinese medicine, that's called wind. Slight itching can be heat. Again, wind is a metaphor. And the skin may become rough and thick, and there may be a pale tongue and abdominal bloating, as in the subacute phase. So this is the chronic eczema, and the formula we give is Si Wu Xiao Feng Yin, 4 substances, I'm translating the name, 4 substances, expel wind formula. So these are 4 substances that are for increasing the blood, increasing and improving blood supply to stop itching. Whereas the subacute pattern, the number 2, contains substances for increasing the qi supply, the body's energy. So that's qi, which is yang, this is blood, which is yin. And actually, if there's a lot of heat, it injures the yin, because heat is yang, too much yang injures fluids, and blood is a fluid, and it's part of the yin. So after an outbreak that involves heat, the blood is dried, is deficient, doesn't moisturize the skin, so you end up with that formula. Now, the difference between another difference between Chinese medicine and normal medicine is, in normal medicine with a skin problem, you may get you don't tend to take pills, you tend to take lotions and things. In Chinese medicine, you do both. You treat the disease from the inside by taking pills and potions and drink herbal drinks, but you also put creams and washes, herbal washes. So just very quickly, because the video is getting over 10 minutes long, For these precise ingredients, please look at my website, because these are Chinese names and Latin names, and if I read them to you, your head will explode. So basically what you do is the same as the other formulas, the herbs. You take them, you cook them together, but instead of drinking them, or as well as drinking them, you also wash the affected parts with them. You can soak the affected parts, you can steam the affected parts. So you can be cooking these, and then let's say you've got hand eczema or wherever. You have to be careful with the steaming, but that's another method. Ku Shen Huang Bai Di Fu Ze Jingjie. Look, it's number 1 in the section on washes and ointments for eczema on my website. In the second phase, there's a few other things. San Miao San. In the third phase, we very commonly use for skin diseases, indigo, an ointment made from ground indigo, that blue plant that used to be used for dyeing, colouring things blue. So, very lastly, there's a piece of research on the website into pediatric eczema for children. This research was done this year in China, and it uses a different formula to the others that I've talked about, and it uses a formula that only contains 2 herbs and is called Miao San. Miao means 2 miracles powder, and contains 2 herbs: Huangbai, which is the bark of a Asian cork tree, and Sangju, which is a kind of fungus, like a tree, like a big mushroom. And they dry damp and they expel heat. And damp and heat are the main things that cause eczema in Chinese medicine. So everything we do is designed to remove damp and heat. And in terms of acupuncture points that remove damp and heat, there's one here. I'll try and put a link to how to find it. I don't know how much relief you can get by just pressing points yourself. But I will put a link to those. Well, in fact, there is a link to those points on my website, so I direct you there. But one of the main points for skin diseases is just at the elbow. You bend your elbow and just come upwards here and press there, and it'll usually be quite tender. So you can try that. But as I say, not sure if it's enough by itself. I hope this has helped, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. And I will finish this, which incidentally causes damp and heat, but it's fun to drink. But you probably need to be careful with it if you have skin conditions, because it's dampening and heating. Cheers.